Hello everyone, this is Atma76X, and today I'll be showing you how to play as an AD carry Ezreal in League of Legends. And yes, this is a ranked game. League of Legends is more popular now than ever. They just had a big, huge tournament, and Ezreal was one of the most popular champions the pros use that game. And he still is incredibly popular, so everyone loves, they see the pros play him, they want to play him, and a lot of people don't play him quite so well because he's really not that easy to start off with. Few tips. I would recommend starting off with Doran's Blade and getting yourself a lot of attack damage runes, so it makes it easier for you to fight people. And well, really it's mainly for last hitting minions. I would recommend starting off with about 15 attack damage, some attack speed, and maybe some movement speed. Honestly, I think right here I'm using about 8.5 attack damage, 6% crit chance, and some movement speed and attack speed. So, yeah, and right here I'm going to show you that you don't need to start off with boots pots. As you can see here, I'm getting ganked, but if you know what you're doing with Ezreal, you can get away, and I just have enough movement speed to get out of here because of my quints. So, there you go, look at that, got away from one of the best gankers in the game. Okay, as you saw in my last video as Diana, you know that. So there you go, you do not need to start off with boots pots all the time. But like I said, I would recommend getting about 15 attack damage on your rune page and some attack speed, because it really helps out tremendously for an AD carry. Because you really should be just waiting on last hitting minions and waiting for your support to start a fight, like I did, if you saw the first fight there. And right here, Promise is doing his job perfectly well. This is what you would want. I don't care who my support is, as long as they can do what he just did. So... get into his moves, his passive. Every time he uses an ability, he starts attacking faster. You know, and every time he lands a hit with his Q, he attacks faster. It's W, you know, etc. So that makes him a mean auto attacker. And these days, a lot of the damage is dealt from auto attacks, you know, late game. So this is how it goes. Your Q is awesome. It's a skill shot, stops at the first target it hits, but it deals a lot of damage. You can proc the Sheen on it, and you can get lifesteal back from it, so keep that in mind if you're getting pushed back in lane. Just get a Vamp Scepter and you can last hit with your Q, and you'll still be able to, you know, sustain yourself that way. That's great, really handy. Your W is also a skill shot. It passes through all targets. It used to slow the enemy champions that hit. It used to slow their attack speed, but they got rid of that because, you know, after ranked games, they just change everything. Your W still does buff your teammates, so you want to keep that in mind. Your E is a free flash, so, you know, keep that in mind. A lot of people like to not even take... another, like, they usually don't even take flash with it because they already have one. I like having 2 flashes, but that's just me. As you can see earlier on, it got me out of a hairy situation. And your ult does tons of damage. It's pretty much a global ult. It goes from border to border, does tons of damage. It does less damage the more targets it hits, but it only goes down so much, but it does tons of damage. And you usually like to use it when they're all clustered up. Right here, this game, I decided to rush a Black Cleaver for early game damage, and it works out perfectly fine. Usually I'd rush an Infinity Edge, but I like the Black Cleaver because you get some early game damage. Right here, I could have killed that guy, but I decided to trash talk because I'm awesome like that. Yeah, usually I would say recommend getting an Infinity Edge first, but a lot of people saw the pros build Trinity Force first, and then they built the Bloodthirster, and that only works if you know what the fuck you're doing, and I would not recommend doing that. I'm sorry, it just it irritates me. And then I see, you know, Ezreal's on my team, they try building the Phage first, and it's like, no, build your damage first. I always build Trinity Force on Ezreal as a second item, do not rush it. I mean, I don't get it this game because there was no need to, because I was already face rolling them. But usually for me, I would build Infinity Edge and then a Trinity Force, because that'll give you the maximum damage output that you would need. But do not rush Trinity Force unless you really know what you're doing, and you have to keep in mind the pros are playing with people they always play with. they all know how each other works. They know they have better communication than you will have. So you're going to want your maximum damage output early on. The Black Cleaver, I got that because it shreds their armor, and it's great for early game damage. Once 3 or more enemies get over 125 armor, then I sell that for Last Whisper. You have to keep that in mind. I know what I'm doing with Ezreal, so that's why I'm doing this. This was more of an experiment just to try it out, and it works out phenomenal. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you really know what you're doing, if you play AD carry a lot, and I do, so. This is just what I'm saying. Build Trinity Force, build Infinity Edge, build Bloodthirster. Build them like you would standard AD carry, except I would recommend, instead of getting Phantom Dancer, get a Trinity Force, but I would recommend getting Trinity Force a little bit later on. If you're going to build any item out of the Trinity Force early on, you can build a Sheen early on, and then kind of, not hold off on the rest of the items until you get, like, your Infinity Edge. Oh my god, Infinity Edge and a Sheen early on? Oh my god, you know how much damage you do? Okay, don't worry about being tanky. You shouldn't be worrying about being the tank, because you should have a tank initiating the fights, and then you should be going in and killing everyone. That's how it should be. That's why you want your support to run with an exhaust, so you don't have to worry about getting it damaged, That's just how I think of it. And you should be worrying about last hitting and waiting for your support to go and start a fight, and then you just clean up the kills. So, thanks for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. Thank you. Bye!